Good people, Sanbonani, Makebalo. Today, in this video, we are just reflecting. I will be reflecting, based on the November's paper 2024, the paper that we've been preparing for. Finally, every South African grade 12 learners, they've written this paper. So yeah, we'll be just reflecting, checking some few questions. Yeah, this is a disclaimer. This is not a memorandum or any answering of any questions. I will not be answering any question. Just be phrasing, reflecting, paraphrasing, highlighting some few things if I see something interesting in it. So yeah, let's just go through the paper with me, guys, and yeah, comment if you have an interesting thing to say on the specific question, and also tell me how did you feel when you were writing this paper if you are a grade 12 learner. Now, question one, it's the basic question paper in terms of the structure. Usually, the structure is like this, and all everything that is in question one, we know that it's most of them, if it's not everything, it's from grade 11 or the previous grades. So this is more or less a revision to everyone. So I think and I believe most of the people will get 1.1, which is all of these questions that are here. More or less everyone will get this one correct. This one 2 marks easy. This one, take this one to the other side, quadratic. And then inequalities, if you understand the inequalities where this function is greater, is it greater on the top or greater below? That is very, very important. And this one here, K method, is going to be critical here. It's going to be critical here. And here, remember, take this to the other side and then you square both sides in terms of removing the square root and checking your answer at the end. This is also critical. And then simultaneous equation here, equation number one, equation number two, more especially on this has to be equation number one, and then you take your 2x on the other side and then you substitute that y into this one, then you get your answers there. And I think this one here was more or less the thinking question when it's come to 1.3, where you need to think a little bit. So this is more or less most, not most of the people will get this one correct. 1.3, I think so. I don't know. Now, question two, it's a wedding question, which is another very important question, which is it's been some time not seeing the wedding question when it's come to number pattern. So yeah, remember now here, they are saying the first term, they're telling you the first term in terms of the words, and then they tell you the common difference. Tell you is an arithmetic. Obviously, if you are finding sum of the series in an arithmetic is very important. The a value is very important, and the d value is very important, and the n value is now very important. And then they told you that the terms, the number of terms in this is very important, which is 20. And then probably these 2 marks everyone will have to get. um and the original arithmetic sequence is extended to this, and the sum of the terms of the 75, and then they give you the sum, which is this, which is another very critical thing. And then now they ask you to write this thing in a sigma. Remember, what is important in a sigma is this thing here, where it is here supposed to be your Tn, and here, which is your n, is equals to, there has to be one. If it's not, yeah, one, because that's where we are starting. And then here, this is where your number of term needs to come into play, which is, these are a very three important thing that has to come into play when you're writing a sigma notation. And the sequence for the first term, now here they're giving you the sequence for the first difference of the quadratic. So the first difference of the quadratic, we all know that this is the linear pattern of the quadratic. So, and then T99 of the quadratic is this, and then they calculate the T8. Now, going back here, it's also very, very important in terms of understanding now the quadratic pattern, which I think it has to do with the grade 11 work. So if you know your grade 11 work and you understand the quadratic pattern, yeah, more or less everyone will get this question right. In these 14 total marks, I think plus or minus 10, more or less people will get this question too. I think so. What do you think? Now, question 3, this one is an interesting one, to be honest, when it comes to number pattern. I really believe this was an interesting one. I didn't expect this type of a question. I think most of you didn't expect this one. This was a very, very interesting one. And I'm not gonna say much in it. I'm just gonna say, yeah, it was interesting. Out of these 10, probably half of the mark people will get this one if you do attempt it, because most of the time learners, if they see something that they haven't seen before, they don't attempt it, which is, I don't know why, but it's just probably it's just an instinct in people when they see something that they haven't seen before. Yeah, interesting question. Question 3. Question 4, which is an exponential question, which is also going to involve some inverse. If it does, I'm not sure, but yeah, calculating the value of a and having a point is a matter of substituting on this function that they gave us c, and then finding the value of a. Probably we did find that one. And right, calculating or write down the range of f. Remember, the range of f, we do have this as our y asymptote. Now this is as a y asymptote. Now that's where the range is going to start and then going forward. I'm not going to run the range in terms of how it is, but starting from that asymptote that we having. Remember, it doesn't touch the asymptote because it doesn't start there. That's where we don't touch an asymptote, but people know how to write a range, I believe so. And you sketch the graph, sketch this graph, just an exponential graph. This is a grade 11 work, so I believe people will do. If you're in grade 12, I believe you know how to draw a graph of an exponential graph. I think so. And 4.4, it's further given that c is a point of f at y is equals to 8. So this point C is further given that C is a point of f. So substituting this there, okay, not substituting, let me first read the question. Determine the coordinate of C prime, which is an image of C, when it's reflected about the line. Okay, this line here, remember this line more or less is this line that is a symmetry line, which is more or less a symmetry line, is like this, the line that is y is equals to c. So that's where you need to do first thing that is very important, that will um say is about drawing the graph and drawing the point and then drawing this line. It's going to be easy for you to get the reflection of this, or the image of this point that they want you to do here. Plus or minus 9, I will give more or less people will not get less than 5 or 6 of out of this question, I think so. In question 4, I don't know, what do you think? Now, question 5, which is not an exponential, a hyperbola graph. Also, it's a function from grade 11, which is probably not the work also for grade 12. So, yeah, I hope you people they do some revision. If you're watching this video and you're doing grade 11, I hope you can see that the more of most of the work that is being done in grade 12, it's more or less a revision. There's there and there those things that gonna be added, obviously, but yeah, hopefully we are seeing what is happening here. Now, value of p. Okay, the value of p, they are asking for the x asymptote. What is it? Now, this value of p that they want here, they want it as an x of an asymptote, which is very, very important. You need to take it from your graph. And also they have a domain, which is they give you this domain, which is also a very, very important one. Now, this is the x of an asymptote. You need to have to write it down there. Then they're asking you that let's write down the horizontal asymptote. Now, the horizontal asymptote is this y asymptote, which is also very, very important. They gave you the axis of symmetry. Probably will use that one to get your horizontal asymptote. I don't know. I haven't think much of it, but yeah, this how it things are happening. Oh, you also have f cutting in the y-axis. Yeah, there are a lot of things to do here. I'm just reflecting, guys. I haven't read much of this question of this paper. For which values of x will f at x? So f at x be greater than 0 again. Remember, if f at x is greater on x is when the y is 0, remember this is where my y is 0, so I need the greater is above your x-axis. If it's greater above the x-axis, is from there going forward, so there going to a top. So remember, your graph doesn't touch the x where it's equals to 1. That's where probably you're gonna get your answer there. That is very, very important. And 5.5, graph f undergo the transformation of h where the domain and the range has the same of h, and h prime x is the derivative of h, and the negative it's a domain. Describe the possible transformation that f could undergo in the result of h. Yeah, this is probably the question that some of us will not get it right in terms of the understanding of the question, which is, yeah, very tricky. And yeah, question 5, ladies and gentlemen. Question 6, which is also functions. I hope you can see also here, these are functions, grade 11. Guys, that you're going to do grade 12 next year. This is your work. This is the revision. The people who are doing grade 12 who are writing this paper based on functions. This is revision, guys, people who are writing this paper. But let's get into it, man. In the diagram below, they gave us their function and a straight line that is drawn on C at the point of intersection of F and G. And yeah, EF is drawn parallel to the y-axis with the which E is a point of F and H on G. Okay, parabola graph, a coordinate. Calculate the coordinate of B, the turning point. Okay, if the turning point they give you this thing, remember the x of a turning point, x is equals to 2a. And then after getting your x, we substitute it back here to get your y. 3 marks. Hopefully, most of us will get these 3 marks. And then show the equation of the line AC. So AC, we do have this point in this case, and then now we're going to have to find this point in order for us to get a gradient and then use one of the point. How do we get this point? We know this is the x-intercept, and then we need to find, then within the x-intercept we know our y is 0. Substitute your y is 0 here, you get your x, you get this point, and then you get your, oh, okay, yeah, that's how it is. And yeah, 6.3, calculate the maximum length if or for UF is greater than UG. Yes, of course, here I know that my F, because this is my F graph, I know this it's on top of the G is below, which is this one here. I know that here at the top this is greater than UG at X. So calculating this length of E H is top minus bottom. I hope you still remember that one where you're saying top minus bottom graph. And then from there, after finding those top minus bottom, remember we're finding the maximum. Now the maximum is gonna get us into this point again where you substitute the value of x, um especially if you're doing grade 12. Now we know the maximum, we do what? We derive. So deriving and then equating the derivative into, yeah, people, grade 12 people know how to do this one. I really believe so. um or if you don't know how to derive, which I really doubt they don't know how to derive, you can also find completing the square here. Completion of a square again is very, very important because we don't have the value of x here. That's why we are not going to substitute it here. I believe so. We don't have it in this case. Yeah, and then 6.4, given that k at x is equals to this. So they where there was x, they substituted x plus m. So I hope this is what is happening here. And then determine the value of m such as g is a tangent of k. Very, very interesting, grade 12. Very, very interesting. Now, G is a tangent of K. Now, in terms of the tangent of K, what do we do in order for us to get the tangent of a graph? We first do what they do know, we derive, and then the derivative is equals to the gradient. I hope you know what is the gradient of G here. We've already found this, the equation of G. In this case was what? This was 2. Probably that's how you do this question. Yeah. Interesting question. Interesting question. More or less some revision for grade 11 and also important stuff from grade 12. Very, very mixed question, this one. And then question 7, Maria's grandfather deposited 5,000 into the savings account on the day that she was born, and the account pays an interest rate of 6.8% per annum, compounded quarterly, and then calculate the accumulated amount in this account. Okay, so this one is just A is equals to UP into 1 plus UI into UN. Everything is bounded quarterly divided by 4 times 4. What is very important again here is this 16 years, because on the day she was born, starting from the day she was born, how old are you now? Maria in this case is 16 years, which is 16 years. You need to see times the 16 by 4. So this one, I think most of you will get these 3 marks. After 4 years, the value of the printer value was half. Ish, that is very, very important again, guys. This half after 4 years is half, meaning A is equals to principal amount was what? Was UP, but after 4 years, this P is gonna be half, meaning A now is gonna be equals to half of UP, which is again is a very, very important part when it comes to this question from the original value. Yeah, which is gonna be A, and then P is just gonna be P. So A is gonna be half P. Determining the rate of which the value of the printer depreciated over the period. If the depreciation was accumulated in a straight line, so this one is just A is equals to OP into 1 minus I straight line into N. UN way 2, it's 4 years. We're just looking for UI. Yes, UI. This one is just P, but UA is 1 over 2 P. Again, divided by P, and then P gonna cancel each other. This one, if you understood the question, most of you will get these 2 marks. And then Tsepo was granted a loan of 100,000 on the 1st of March 2022, an interest rate of 13% per annum compounded monthly, and then Tsepo agrees to repay the loan over the 5 years in the monthly installment, agrees to pay monthly installment of this amount um starting from the 1st of April in 2022, which is the normal way. If you're taking a loan, you pay the loan at the end of that at the end of that month that you took out the loan in, which is the normal way in this case, because March, April, which is gonna in the beginning of April, is just gonna pay, which is the normal way. And then calculate the total interest that will be paid over the period of 5 years, meaning here calculating an interest, which strongly believe people would get these 2 marks. And yeah, that's where some things are going to happen here. So, especially when it comes to financial math, in terms of understanding the question, Tsepo pays this amount in his monthly installment and an additional of 2,000 on um 1st of March in 2024. So he's going to add this money on the 1st of March in 2024 into the loan account. And then he continue to pay the original installment after monthly installment after thereafter. How many months earlier will Tepo will repay the loan, which is calculating the value of n, which is, yeah, is a very, very tricky question. And in these 7 marks, I think, yeah, 14 marks, plus or minus 10, I strongly believe people will get it. Yeah, this one, calculus, question 2, question 8. This first one, I really believe most of us will get this one correct. These 2 marks, strongly believe all of us would get it. Um, and this one, I also believe that all of us will get it by first taking this one to the top, becomes the negative exponent of x, this negative 2. And then this one also going to the top is going to be 7 over 3. And then you derive the normal way of deriving, which I think all of us need to get these 4 marks also. And determining the equation of the tangent based on this. Again, equation of a tangent. First thing, we do have this x, we substitute it here to find the y of this x, and then we have a point of 2 into that y that we're gonna get after substituting here. And then after that, I think, and then you find the derivative, and then the derivative is equal to the gradient, and then you take this x, substitute into the derivative, and then after that, you do have a gradient, you do have a point, you find the equation of a tangent, which is, I strongly believe, if we understand the question, 3 marks, you're gonna get this 3 marks. And first principle, you see this lady that was writing here, lady or a gentleman, this is the shortest way of finding your first principle. And then you just gonna do the first principle. And then after finding the first principle, you will know the answer. This the answer has to be in your first principle. So if it's not this one, yeah, man. Write down how will you restrict your domain. Okay, now this is very interesting in terms of now writing your domain of this um inverse, because to do the inverse now you need to understand out in terms of the domain, where will your x values exist. This is the interesting question. And then now determine now the inverse. Now here determine the inverse, and then they give you the domain. This is the domain of the inverse, not the domain, man, the range. This is the range of the inverse. And then write down the inverse, which is again just writing the inverse. Yeah, interesting question. Out of 18 marks, I will give it plus or minus 10. And then question 9, um cubic graphs. And then cubic graph, for which values of x will this function decrease? From this here, going up, my function is increasing. Now from here to here, my function is decreasing. So those are the values of x where this function decrease, and then from here it goes to the top. That's probably an answer there. And then write down the x-intercept of the f prime, meaning the f prime, the derivative. Now we need to understand that since this is a cubic graph, what are the x-intercept of the parabola, meaning the derivative? If you get the derivation, what man, um, the x of a turning point are your x-intercept of um the derivative, which is going to be your parabola graph. Now I'm telling you an answer. Didn't want to tell you an answer, but yeah, that's the answer. to those one who are writing this paper. And then for which values of x will f be a concave up? Now concave up, second derivative, now you know the derivative needs to be concave up greater than 0. And 9.4, which is another interesting question, which is, I know this type of a question, most of the learners don't even attempt to answer this one. Don't even attempt to answer. Yeah, because I strongly believe as teachers we don't teach this part well, or we don't emphasize in terms of how do we explain this question. Yeah. Question 10, application of calculus. I believe this one was, I wouldn't say easy, but yeah, it was doable if you did most of this question in terms of revision on these questions. And yeah, it was 8 marks to get, but if you didn't get the 8 marks, I still strongly believe on these 5 marks that is here, you can get 2 or 3 if you understand now the distance between OP and OA, which is again that is very important in terms of understanding the derivatives and everything that we're doing here. So out of these 8, probably you can get um 5 or 6. I think so. What do you think? And then question 10, question 11, sorry, Venn diagram probability. This is the grade 11 work. It's not grade 12 work. So also the revision. So to the people who also seeing this paper, doing grade 11 now, writing grade 12 next year, they're doing grade 12 next year, you can see that the work that you're doing right now, don't take it for granted, man. Don't take it for granted. You are going to need that work. It's very, very, very critical and very, very important. So, which I strongly believe these 9 marks, it's a gift. If you don't get these 9 marks, at least get 6 out of these 9, which is because I think it's a grade level work. Grade 12 probability, a very interesting one, and we um most of the teachers I struggling, me included. This part is not um a part where I'm strong in. And in this question here, it's very interesting question, which I believe the first part of it, which is 12.1, we can get that one correct, because the digit may be repeated. It has to do with some factorial there, which is, I think we can get it correct. And then 12.2, interesting one, understanding the information that is given there. Yeah, um it is interesting question, I think so. So out of, because this is the last question out of that paper, what do you think, guys, after seeing this question in terms of the review that I did? Yeah, I know I'm not good in doing reviews, but I wanted to do a review and then sort of a reflection and reacting on this paper. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for watching, man. Makebalo.